Good afternoon, everyone. This is SeasonWatch, and we're really excited to show you our project. I'm Shivansh. I'm a CS and math major at UMass Campus, and with Jimmy.
Name's Jacob, Jacob Epstein. I'm a rising senior at UMass Amherst, studying CS.
And I'm Zach. I'm here at BU, and I'm studying data science and economics.
So we have client. Our client is Dr. Ether Armstrong, PhD, who's the program manager of the SeasonWatch project. So she's also a researcher who has authored several papers on the phenotypic of trees across the Indian subcontinent. Slide. So what exactly is SeasonWatch? So SeasonWatch is a citizen science project that's based in India, and it concerns itself with collecting data across India about tree plant characteristics. Now, the people who do the data gathering are people like Asian enthusiasts who want to be about this program, or students who are students in India, who many schools, who academics in their schools for information. An example of the data that we're working with is shown here. So we're dealing with the data of observation, the species, and the various attributes that species shows on that particular data. So as we can see, that a few flower buds, many different flowers, few unripe fruits, and a few red fruits. Slide. Going to the problem description. So in essence, the central problem that we're dealing with is that due to climate change, plant phases are shifting. So species across India are fruiting and flowering earlier or later than they're supposed to. And we want to detect these shifts and quantify them with SeasonWatch citizen science data. And this is important because this data, data is foundation for the future research that we for climate change and moving papers taking over.
Yeah, so moving on to our main research question, it was how can we estimate the start and end times of these plant phases using SeasonWatch's citizen science data? So now moving on to our results. So our results were we managed to estimate these plant phases in two different ways. So our first way was just identifying weeks where this phase is present in large numbers. So here we're identifying weeks 11 through 21 as weeks where that are in the fruiting phase. So these weeks have many species which are in the fruiting phase. So and our second method is more distribution based. So we have a start week. We have two distributions. We have a distribution for the start week of the phase. We have a distribution for the end week of the phase. And these distributions are actually computed from the citizen science data. So on the left, there's a distribution for the start, which is in green. And then the blue curve is the prevalence of buds in the species. And then the red curve is the distribution for the end week of the phenotypes. And so these are the real examples of these distributions, which we computed on the citizen science. So now moving on to some of the challenges.
Yeah, so our first challenge is that data can be messy. So if we look here, all these blue points are observations that were submitted by citizens. And as we mentioned earlier, our project is based in India, so all the observations should be from India, but we did have some weird observations that are coming from Central Africa, the Middle East, and Russia. So we had to deal with weird things in our data like this, and there were a lot of different things like this that we had to deal with in our data process. Now, another challenge, we're focused on finding those transition times for these plant phases. This time, we're talking about how these phases vary across different species. So if we think about coconuts, for example, coconuts can bear fruit in India throughout the entire year. So it could be like May, and they're bearing fruit, it could be December. So how do we find when they start bearing fruit and where they end bearing fruit? This was a very difficult challenge for us, and we could talk about it more later when we get to our individual showcases. But for mangoes follow a more traditional pattern of fruiting. So in in the first 6 months, of the year, they will bear fruit, and then in the second 6 months, they will not. So it's much more easy for us to find when these species start fruiting and when they stop fruiting. So now let's talk about our project impacts on the public interest. So we have a diagram here that we like to call the mutualistic relationship of citizen science. So what does that mean? So scientists give opportunities to citizens to get involved in research. And what are these citizens, or what are these opportunities? In this case, for research, the citizens are offering data because research can't be done without any data. So data is expensive to collect, it's hard to collect, and if you incorporate citizens, it can be done on a massive scale. And through this cooperation, we can get scientific advancements that weren't possible before. So how does this relate to SeasonWatch? So in our case, SeasonWatch takes the role of researchers. So they're giving the opportunities to people in India that could be residents or visitors. And those residents and visitors can just open up the SeasonWatch app and input data on like a tree in their neighborhood. So they could look outside, get a tree, and say, I see some fruits on this tree, I see lots of leaves on this tree, and I see so citizens will offer data to the researchers, but where do we come into this? We have to take that data and extract information from it. So that's what we've been doing with this project. We've been creating these plots to identify when fruits will start to bear on trees, flowers will start to appear on trees, and this information makes it easier for researchers to do their job. And in this relationship, we're able to develop easier system for researching things like climate change and just like how adapts to that. So now there's just some resources that we're the same within our presentation. So if you want to look at our clients' articles that she's written about this, they're listed up here. And if you are planning a visit to India anytime soon, you're able to scan this QR code and participate in projects.
Thank you all.
Yeah.